Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, and we're busting out the P-51D Tier 7 American light fighter. This is what I would consider an altitude fighter and likes to operate at the upper echelons of the altitude bracket that you would see at Tier 7. So what does this aircraft really specialize in? Well, it has a pretty good strength for overall speed, altitude performance like I just mentioned, but the firepower is a little bit lackluster with the only 650 cal machine guns. What I'm going to use my altitude fighter for, and I do advocate for anybody else that's still getting a hang of these aircraft, is keep your aircraft at altitude. You're going to limit the amount of aircraft that it can engage you. Anything that's meant to be low altitude, even though with the new stall mechanics aircraft can kind of get up to higher altitude, they're going to be in a low energy state. They're not going to have a lot of speed, not a lot of maneuverability, and you can just rip them to pieces when they get up to those altitudes. You can see here we're really comfortable up at around 7,000 feet, which at Tier 7 is pretty good, and the aircraft cruises well over 300 miles an hour, and again, for the tier, very good. I like to prioritize aircraft in three major categories at this altitude. You've got other light fighters, which can turn with you, in a lot of cases can out-turn you, so you need to keep an eye out for them, and if you can, take that aircraft out, especially if it's distracted. And secondly, you want to go after heavies. You can out-turn a heavy, you can also maintain good chase, especially with the speed of this platform, and then you can totally decimate those heavy fighters at this altitude bracket. The third target would be a bomber. If you feel like you have an advantageous position, come up from underneath a bomber or down from on top of it. You'll mitigate a lot of the fire coming in from that aircraft, and you should be able to take it out fairly effectively in most cases. Now, once you've eliminated all those targets at that altitude, then you can do what we're doing here, where we're dropping down to lower altitude. Now, there is a friendly Zero here that's on my team, player controlled, that has been fighting these aircraft this whole time. This is where he belongs. Meanwhile, we're dropping down to give him a hand, knowing that I'm not going to be in a one-on-one fight. If I ever get into a one-on-one fight, or sorry, a two-on-one fight where I'm at a disadvantage, then I'm in the wrong spot to begin with. But if I can get into a fight where I'm going to have at least some allies around, and I can keep the ratio in my favor, then we're going to have much better luck. These air defense fighters respawned, and as you can see, there's our ASIC M5, and he was able to take out that other fighter. Since I'm already down here, the air defense fighter heavy aircraft, if you would, this is a J4M actually, or no, sorry, it's a P-38F, but this heavy fighter actually came down to us, so we were able to maintain our lower altitude and still be able to do our job and chase down this heavy. And as you can see, we're sticking on them like glue, and even though our allies were able to capture the zone, we still maintain fire in order to get a few more points out of it. I see that our bomber is getting attacked by this heavy fighter. I don't have a lot of boost left right now, so I'm going to kind of level the aircraft off in order to try and maintain speed. You can see we're still accelerating, and now we hit that boost a little bit to get us up to that 324 you see right now. And as that aircraft starts to fly over us, I kick my nose up and try and engage him. He managed to take out our bomber, but I'm already here, and of course, yeah, my altitude bracket, it's a heavy. There's no light fighters around. This makes the most sense. We maintain guns on. Nice thing about machine guns is there's an increased chance of fire with machine guns. You're not going to crit as much, but you will light aircraft on fire. Now, we've also rolled for an increased chance of fire with the gun sight I have equipped on here, so that makes it even more vicious when it comes to that type of a thing. We see this P-47N, opportunistic target. As I'm back into my climb, trying to get up to my proper altitude bracket, he's at about 6,000 feet, but we're able to knock him out quite effectively while still maintaining speed. I see that there's some aircraft at lower altitude, but then I go, you know what? I'm going to look up, and sure enough, there's an altitude fighter. It is a player controlled, and they are in the same aircraft we are, a P-51D, so this should be an even fight. Getting those machine guns on target, we got him on fire. I'm actually slowing down a little bit here because then when I kick the boost, it allows me to be able to kind of do a little bit of a quick turn on the aircraft. Again, we see another altitude fighter, this time at low altitude, chasing down our bomber. I'm going to gun it down here, and you can see we're getting up to some pretty good speeds in the dive. That's something the P-51D was really known for. And we get those guns on target, and we managed to take him out. He wasn't really expecting us. He was at high speed. He had to make a very sweeping turn, and we're able to knock him out. I saw that there was a multi-role over here at the airfield, so I started looking around for targets and then realized that the aircraft down here is actually going to be my friendly Zero, so I know he's got it, and I'm going to head over to the mining plant, try and give a little bit of cover to the aircraft we have attacking that site. Get a shout out from another player here, really do appreciate that, Stewie. Glad to hear that the videos are helping people, and that's one of the reasons we're actually picking this aircraft up right now. We see that altitude fighter yet again. It's a P-51D, so let's get on that target and try and knock him out. Definitely a dangerous threat, especially if he notes I'm here and he gets the advantage on me. Seems like he's trying to evade us and really looking at going after that bomber again. But he's not following the rules that I kind of already stipulated, right? You should be going after other altitude fighters because they're going to be more of a threat to you. We got some good shots on him. We lit him on fire. We're hitting the brakes, so we slow down, and now I'm hammering the boost in order to get the nose around a little bit quicker. We're in a head-on right here, and I just make sure that my wingtip hits him. I knew we were gonna get into a ramming situation there. Now, I don't advocate ramming people. It's kind of like a lack of skill, but if you are going to be in a situation where you're going to ram somebody, especially when it's kind of a life or death situation, I didn't know how the next pass was going to go. He could have gotten around on me. I just let the wingtip of my aircraft hit his fuselage. If you want to go back and look at the replay, you'll see that. And I even tell him in chat what had happened because he said, no way. And, you know, I don't want someone to think that I was doing something nefarious here. I did a tactic I learned from another player, and I feel like it's important to share that it's a good idea that if you know you're going to ram somebody, try and hit with just the wingtip or the vertical stabilizer. It's going to be that much safer. You'll cause more damage than you'll receive. We're at lower altitude, again not heeding my own advice here, but I do see that there's a couple of heavy fighters down here, so I am going to start vectoring towards them, but then of course I see an altitude fighter, so go for the altitude fighter. But you are honestly at your most vulnerable when you're gunning down another target. And that's when that VB-10 vectored on me and took me out. So that's important to note in any aircraft. If you're ever on a target, you're probably at danger of getting shot down. Why? Because you're going in a straight line, a relatively straight line, trying to track on another target. So when somebody comes in behind you, it's that much easier to get guns on target. And honestly, I actually look at the target an enemy is shooting if I'm trying to help an ally. And that way I know exactly where that aircraft is going to go just by following my friendly. So just a word of advice. Let's get to the endgame results screen and go over my setup. Alright, so as you can see here, we were able to bring in a pretty decent score. We managed to get 5,600 experience on the aircraft, which of course we are putting all of that experience back into our crews since I've already finished this entire line, but you're looking at 11,534 experience for the pilot. We managed to bring in 10,000 personal points, which is a very respectable score. Our team did win the battle despite us getting taken out towards the end there, but again, we were focusing down the P-51s. There was 2 of them on the enemy team. We never saw the Doe 217, but we did take out targets in exactly the same way that I specified before. We did rack up 12 aircraft kills during that battle, and we took out 9 enemy fighters, 5 of which were fighters, 3 heavies, and then a multi-role, as well as 3 air defense aircraft. Again, staying in line with those 3 major priorities: other altitude fighters, heavies, bombers, and then once you take care of those, then you can dip down and attack other aircraft. But at no point should you get into a turning engagement with any enemy turn fighters. You just come in and do a gunning pass, and then you lift your nose up at about 20-30 degrees, climb out of the engagement, build up your speed, maybe do an up and over turn and do the same thing we do with a heavy. You come back and you do another run until one of those other 3 targets present themselves again. Just be careful of Spitfires because they're nasty, right? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope this was informative. And this was actually going out to Kiramatsu89. I hope I'm saying that correctly, man. But you specifically asked for a Mustang video. I didn't have one, but this is one I remembered enjoying. So I decided I'd repurchase it just for this purpose. Guys, I am open to suggestions if anybody would like to see a particular aircraft. Just bear in mind it might take some time to get the credits together. Anyways, again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
I keep on moving forward, always getting closer. I'm marching till it's over.